Welcome to the Cardboard Crash Course. My name's Ethan. Let's learn how to play Uno, the correct way. First, start the game by dealing 7 shuffled cards to each player. Then place the rest of the deck in the center of the table as the draw pile. Play starts to the left of the dealer and continues clockwise around the table until one player wins the game. You may view your own cards, but you may never view another player's cards. The first player in play may place any card with any color or number onto the discard pile as the starting card. From this point forward, each player in play must play a card onto the discard pile that matches the top card of the discard pile in either color or number/symbol. If at any point you were to go and play and you do not have a card that matches the color or number/symbol of the card in the discard pile, you have to draw one card into your hand and then pass the rest of your turn. Gameplay continues around and around the table like this until one player has one single card left in their hand. At that point, they must immediately yell Uno to the rest of the table. If they're caught not saying Uno by the time the next player takes their turn, they have to draw 2 cards into their hand as a penalty. The moment a player plays a card and has no cards left in their hand, that player immediately wins the game. We'll continue playing games and deciding winners in those games until one player has 500 points, in which case they win the whole Uno night. So now that you know how to play a turn and win, let's talk about the correct rules for playing all of the special cards in the game on top of the number cards, because I know none of you play +4 correctly. The reverse card is a card that can be played to switch the turn order. For example, if you're going counterclockwise, then begin going clockwise, or vice versa. It can only be played on top of a card that matches the color or on top of another reverse card. If this card is played as the first card of the game, or turned face up if you're playing with that variant, the turn of play will continue counterclockwise instead of clockwise for that game. Next is the skip card. When a player plays this, the next player in turn order loses their turn. If this is the first card of the game, the first player would skip their turn, and then play would continue after that. A draw 2 can be played on top of a card that matches its color or on top of another draw 2 card. When you do this, the next player in turn order must draw 2 cards and then skip the rest of their turn. If this card is the first card in the game, the first player draws 2 cards and then skips the rest of their turn. The wild card represents all 4 colors and can be played on top of any other card. The player who played it states which color is now in play, and this card is treated as if it had that color instead of a wild. If this is the first card that enters play, the first player chooses what color to treat this as. Finally, we have the dreaded +4 wild. This card is treated just like a wild card and can be played on top of any other card, but also makes it so the next player in turn order must draw 4 cards and then forfeit the rest of their turn. However, here's the catch with the draw 4 card. In order to play this card legally, you cannot have any of the colors on the top of the discard pile in your hand other than the wild draw 4. In that case, you could play it with no troubles. When you play this card, you may be challenged on your bluff by another player. In that case, you have to show them your hand of cards. If you're guilty of playing it illegally, you need to draw 4 cards from the draw pile. Read them and weep. If they call your bluff and you did play it legally, they have to draw 6 cards instead by calling you incorrectly. If this card is the first card to enter play, shuffle it back into the draw pile and draw a new card to enter play instead. You gain points depending on how many cards and what type of cards are in your opponent's hands once you win. The value of points are as follows, and are only counted in your opponent's hand. Numbered cards, 0 through 9, are face value. Draw 2s, skips, and reverses are 20 points each. Wilds and wild draw 4s are 50 points each. And finally, if your version of Uno has any customizable wild cards, those are worth 40 points each. So really, Uno is meant to be played quickly, multiple times in order to gain points. There is also an official team variant of Uno, where 2 players on opposite corners of the table play against the other 2. Once one player in either part of a single team wins, then both players will win. Scoring for this mode only counts the 2 opposing players of the losing team. Now you know how to play Uno correctly. What are your house rules in the comments below? Check out Ono99 here, or more how to play videos from this playlist on the channel.